Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jordan Ryan with Fire and Forget Podcast. Today's guest is Jared Meyer. Jared Meyer is a Marine Corps veteran and a small business owner out of Georgia. He owns a fencing company. Jared, you want to introduce yourself?
What's going on? I'm Jared Meyer.
Alrighty. As we discussed before we start the podcast, today's discussion is about you. It's about your entire life, from your upbringing on through your recruiting process, your occupations, your hobbies, on through your career, and why you chose a transition, and what you decided to do, and what your plan was going out of the military, and what you're doing now. So let's get into it. So let's talk about your upbringing. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. So from Atlanta, what about your family?
Family's from Atlanta and family's from Virginia. Okay. So my dad's family's from Virginia, and my mom's family's from Atlanta.
All right. Siblings?
I got two sisters, both younger. One's 21 or 22. Yeah, 22. One's 15.
Okay. What did your mother and your dad do when they were when you were growing up?
My mom, she was an engineer, but she turned to be an accountant. I guess she's high up in an accounting firm currently still. And my dad is a pharmacist. He owned his own pharmacy.
Okay.
Franchise.
Did he ever patent anything or anything crazy?
Yeah, he made a wart cream. Pretty cool.
That's pretty rad. Not gonna lie.
Not anything super cool, but a little nerdy, but whatever.
Hey, man. I mean,
what it is.
Who knows enough chemistry really to beat warts?
It works. It works.
All right. So a little bit about yourself. What did you do growing up? Your hobbies, and then sports, any of that stuff.
Growing up, a lot of outdoors activities, fishing, hunting. Love fishing a lot more. So grew up every day after school. We'd probably go fishing if we didn't have sports. And then I played golf and soccer in high school. So nothing too crazy, but got it going.
So did you compete with golf?
Yeah, I played for a little bit in college, and then decided that partying was more fun, and academics fell by the wayside. So that didn't last very long.
So did you have any jobs before while you were in college or anything like that?
No job while I was in college because that was a very short stint. But I always grew up working. My parents instilled in me that if you want something, you got to buy it, and we ain't helping you. So I always had a job. If I wanted to play golf, it's an expensive hobby. I had to pay for it. So I worked at a couple golf courses growing up. Worked at the PGA Superstore in high school. Yeah.
Fun fact, I had to buy one of Jared's golf clubs because I smacked it pranking him on a golf course. So that cost me a few $100. But that's a story for another time, I guess. All right. So you're in college for a little bit. What college did you go to?
Mississippi State.
Oh, shoot. You were out of town, and then you had to come all the way back? Damn.
It happens.
So you leave Mississippi State, and you work your way back to Georgia. Mm-hmm. Did you do anything after the fact for a little while or anything?
I was a bum on my parents' couch for about 3 months while I was getting recruited, and then went straight to boot camp.
Okay, let's talk about the recruiting process. How did you end up meeting your recruiter? Why did you choose the Marine Corps?
So I originally was going to go National Guard. Then I had a few discussions with friends and family, and I reached out to a buddy who had just graduated boot camp. That was a family friend, and he was like, "If you're going to do it, just go all out." So I couldn't think of any more way to go all out, so I joined the Marine Corps. And it was probably the best decision. Still keep in contact with my recruiter, awesome guy, but it really wasn't a hard decision. It was just do it and do it all the way.
So what was the ambition to join? Was it because of the lack of discipline having to get out of college, and then parents put any influence on it? What happened?
Growing up, I always had some discipline in my life. I always knew what I wanted. I just didn't know the direction I wanted to go. And I think the biggest thing I wanted to do was the direction. It showed me a path to enlightenment. some would say. It showed me how to like choose my own destiny. If I worked for it, I could get it. So that's kind of the discipline was what I was looking for, and becoming an actual man was really what I was wanted. That's what I wanted out of it.
Okay. So, how did you end up with your MOS, or what MOSs did you choose? Because a lot of people get, figuratively and actually tricked out of their job fields and occupations. So I know you're more interested in operations. You're looking for supervisorial stuff, and you're looking. I know you're going to get into it a little bit, but you were looking to start your own company, which you did, of course. Yeah. So how did you end up in your discipline? What happened with the recruiting process?
The recruiting process was I wanted to go, and I wanted to go then. And I wanted to go be a grunt, and I'm glad that didn't happen because I wouldn't have met the people that I did and be in the position I am in now. But I ended up being Motor T, got to hang out with some great guys, got to do a good deployment or two, and it was a great time.
We'll get into that in just a second. So you go to boot camp, you get Motor T because you were in an expedient manner getting into boot camp. How was the training evolutions, your MOS school, infantry training, all that stuff that you went through before you got out to the fleet?
It was, looking back on it, is the easiest, hardest thing I've ever done. Just meal to meal. There's no worries in the world because everyone's telling you what to do, which was great at that time. But I remember getting out of boot camp or like going out to eat when I had free libo time, and I was like, what do I even want to eat? Because I couldn't choose nothing for my life. But it wasn't hard. It was just a lot of work.
For everybody who's not active duty or never served, libo is liberty, which is vacation or free time, basically, because you belong to the government 24/7. So they give you a little bit of time so you don't jump off a fucking cliff. All right. So did you choose the coastline that you wanted to go to? What unit? I know what unit you ended up because I know you, but for other people out there, did you want to be in the unit?
I wanted to be East Coast. I wanted to be East Coast. I didn't want to go to Japan. I didn't want to go to California. I wanted to be, somewhat close to home. So if I needed to go home, I could. But at the end of the day, I was there to serve my country, so I would have gone anywhere they sent me. But I wanted East Coast, and I got East Coast, so it worked out well.
We'll talk about your deploying experiences, training evolutions, all that stuff here in a minute. But did you have any ambitions to go overseas coming in? Was that a thought process? Or was it like kind of a secondary, like, oh, yeah, it might happen?
I wanted to deploy. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to see the difference I made. That was something that's a really big passion of mine, is seeing the difference that I make. But the mission was there, but I knew I was joining out of peacetime, so there was little actionable objectives we could actually do. So,
well, there's a bunch of quotes that say this, but impact in volume, so it just depends on what you can accomplish. All right. So, what unit were you at?
I was with CLB 26.
What is that?
It's Combat Logistics Battalion 26, or 26. It is located in FC 555, or the Triple Nickel.
That's the barracks.
And it was an absolute shithole. But hey.
All right. We'll get into command influence and philosophy here in a minute. But so you got up to it's a logistics unit for everyone who's just tuning into the podcast, and the main mission is to support this MAGTAF, which you can look that up. It's a term. Just Google it. Basically, you support infantry, and you're part of a deploying force. You're a deploying unit. Okay, so what was your? We'll just go throughout your time there and kind of the different roles and responsibilities that you held at the unit, and kind of the leadership philosophy of the command, things that you took away that not negatively and positively, leadership, whatever the case is. Go ahead.
So pretty quick rundown. I got to the unit. We started workups for our MEU. Workups got cut short. Our MEU is the Marine Expeditionary Unit, where we take a boat over yonder and, sit on a boat for 30 days, get off for 2 days, get back on a boat. And we do a lot of training overseas. But we started our workups as soon as I got to the unit, which is training for the deployment.
What year was your workup and like your training schedule and stuff like that.
So our workup was end of 2016, beginning of 2017. I guess, no, you know what? I retake that. It was 2017, 2018 because we deployed in 2018.
Okay. What were so your motor transportation?
Yep.
So drive the truck, and he does
drive the truck and go beep beep. It ain't hard.
Drives the truck and go beep beep. All right. So what that entails, if you want to break it down a little bit, if not, I'll hit the points.
Pretty much transporting stuff to other places. Whatever, you're the UPS for everyone. You're either transporting troops or you're transporting cargo of some sort, and you make shit happen. You're the one who makes all the stuff go where it's supposed to go.
So think of trucking and freight basically is the equivalent for the non-service members, not the assault anybody's intelligent. So what was your primary jobs and responsibilities going into the workup and during the training evolutions?
Going into the workup, I was in charge of all the gear. I was given a billet, which is like a leadership role. Early on in my career, before we started the workups, my corporals, my leadership, they saw something in me. I guess back then, or maybe I was just picked at random. But I was in charge of all the gear on deployment across all 3 ships that were on the MEU. So wasn't a really hard task. You just got to keep track of a bunch of wrenches and stuff.
So that billet is what, quality control? Were you like
it's
tool NCO?
SL3? It's a tool NCO job. I mean, it's really nothing crazy.
So for trying to equivalent things for people so they understand, it's kind of like warehouse management for like the fleet, if that makes any sense. So he's does like logistics or supplies. If you guys tuned into episode 3 when Manny was talking about doing echelons and maintenance, it's kind of the same deal. He helped ensure that the fleet readiness was at a certain standard. He ensured that the equipment was accounted for, the acquisition processes, stuff like that, which is, it's not an easy process, especially in the Marine Corps, because one, we don't have zero fucking funding.
It's a lot of loopholes and a lot of stealing from your neighbor.
Tactically acquiring.
It's stealing, man. You gotta do it however you gotta do it.
Okay, so during your workup phase and that whole entire evolution, did you go anywhere, travel around the United States? What was kind of
we did
the mission set?
The mission set was obviously to train for whatever was going to happen, if anything happened. We did it was whatever the training evolution that was in Arizona.
Yuma.
I think WTI is what it was called. Did a lot of stuff out there. And then we actually got caught doing a disaster relief in Puerto Rico and surrounding islands.
Did you leave Yuma, like WTI training, to go?
No, we got back from WTI. We're back for about a month or 2, and then we were on another training evolution. We're working with MARSOC. They were jumping down into an airfield and gonna like cut up in some pigs or some weird stuff. And it was pouring down rain, and we were in like Washington, North Carolina, and they're like, "Hey, pack up. We're going to Puerto Rico." I was like,
"All right,
let's go."
We'll backtrack a little bit. So you leave WTI and you get augmented out to a different unit. This means to basically just be assigned to a different unit to support as an entity.
Yeah.
Right. So he's supporting MARSOC, which is a special operations entity in the Marine Corps, probably as some kind of role player or something like that, or general support role. He gets a call and gets recalled back to his unit, and then they prep for humanitarian disaster relief package to go to Puerto Rico. Which hurricane was that?
Can't even remember, man.
Matthews, probably, or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
17, probably.
Yeah, 17.
Okay, so he preps and he shoots down Puerto Rico. So one of the missions and roles of the MEU, if they're in an off augment cycle, is their responsibility is to do disaster relief. So they do domestic disaster relief and close north and south column disaster relief if you're on the East Coast. So that's their primary mission on the off cycle from deployment. Okay, so tell us about Puerto Rico and what you did down there.
Puerto Rico was a lot of running around giving water to people, helping rebuild some stuff. I actually got my time cut short there by 2 days, because my grandfather actually passed away while we were down there, which is another funny story, and I'll go into that. But we just helped out. I mean, I saw the impact of joining. It was the first time I actually saw the great impact of me joining the military and joining the Marine Corps, and saw what I was doing to help these people. And it was just a fantastic feeling. You could see you're giving back, and it was amazing.
Yeah. So Puerto Rico is a territory
Yep.
of the United States. He didn't get to travel abroad. A lot of the humanitarian disaster relief stuff
Or in
that comes is usually to foreign
Yeah.
countries, and that's where we bolster and build the relationships. That's kind of the main point of it, obviously, because we're kind of a globalist society. So
Yeah.
it helps build those relationships and helps third world countries and second world countries that are undeveloped and just don't have the supply chain to and resources to build their infrastructure back up. So it's a great mission. I never got to do it when I was attached to that
Yeah.
same unit that Jared was earlier on in my career before he got to the fleet, and when I deployed and got back. And I literally left to go to another unit, and they got that mission. I was kind of salty about it, to be honest with you. But enough about me. So you left early. You left early? So you're saying you didn't get the medal for it?
Oh, I got the medal for it. So I left early. I got they called me back on the ship, just me, and I was like, thought I did something wrong, and I was like, well, shit, there's no one in my unit back. I get back, I go take a shower, and then Sergeant Major comes down. He's like, Meyer, come up to my office. I go up there. He's like, your grandfather passed away. I was like,
Is this two-tone, Sergeant Major?
no, this is Sergeant Major Kaiser or Kaser, whatever, Kaysen, whatever his name was. And he's like, all right, your grandfather died. I'm like, sweet. So what do I do? He's like, I'm gonna try to get you on a flight out. So I was supposed to fly to mainland Puerto Rico. Did not end up doing that. The vice president was in town, or the president was in Puerto Rico, and we saw him on the ship earlier a week before. The vice president was in St. John's, so I flew on a little tiny dinky rinky helicopter. I don't like flying at all. It's not a fun process. And flew into St. John's, I believe. I'm walking around with a sea bag and camis, just walking around the streets because the Navy guys were like, just get out. And I was like, all right. So I ended up finding the National Guard people trying to get on a flight back. And I was like calling people back in the States, and they're like, I don't know, figure it out, man. I'm a Lance Corporal at this time, and I'm like, I have no clue what's going on. You don't just like send some random kid into another country without a credit card or anything. And I had no money, and I had a cell phone that was barely charged, and figured out a way to get home. I actually, this colonel in the Air National Guard, who would have thought Air National Guard was a thing? He like saw me. He was like some FEMA guy. What?
No, roast the Air National Guard.
Dude,
right now.
I didn't know it was a thing, man. But apparently it is. So congrats to them guys. He saw me walking around, and he's like, pulled over. He's like, what are you doing there? I'm like, I'm trying to find a way to get back home to Georgia. I'm on e-leave. And just granted, he was like the guy that he was like running the island. He's like worked for FEMA or something.
Yeah.
And he made a couple calls. He like took me back to his hotel. I was like, this is super creepy and gay, but whatever. And he got me on a flight and a supply flight back to Savannah. And I got a ride back to my house in Georgia from there. So it was super weird, but I was there for like 4 days, just like figuring it out. I called my platoon sergeant back in the States. He was like, I don't know, man. I have no clue. You know Shane.
Yeah,
Shane is like, just figure it out. I'm like, it is what it is, man.
Hold up. They sent you on a random dinky flight to the main side.
Wrong. I was supposed to go to main side. I didn't go to main side.
All right, you didn't make it to the main side, right? This is like a lack of accountability, like
yes.
101. Holy shit, dude. Lance Cooley over here just ripping and running around the island trying to figure out how to get off of it. Okay, it's terrible. hilarious at the same time.
If it would happen, it would happen to me if you know me.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So, finish E-Leave. What happens to the unit after the humanitarian package and stuff like that?
So the unit actually got back from the humanitarian package before I got back to the States.
Shut up.
So that was kind of cool. Interesting fact. Not cool for me. So I almost missed the funeral, but it is what it is. We make it work sometimes. And things happen for a reason. But they got back like 2 days prior, and then the 24th MU took over from us.
Okay, so what did you guys get into? Did you have to go back out?
We did another like field op or two, like a couple of stints in the field, and then we deployed. I mean, it was super quick after.
Okay, let's talk about your deployment and what you guys did and where you were positioned globally, and we'll get into that.
So I was on the USS Oak Hill. Let me tell you, that boat is older than dirt. But I knew going into it, I'm a big preparer. So I knew going into it, I need to bring a lot of movies, a lot of video games, and just something to occupy my time because I was going to sit on that thing for quite a long time. And that's what we did. We floated around. We went to, we went to Africa. We went to Jordan. We went Italy a couple times because the boat kept breaking down. We were stuck in Poland because the boat broke down or caught on fire or something. Lithuania, they have really good pizza there. I can't remember where else. I know we went to a couple other places, but it's escaping me right now. We spent a majority of our time in Fifth Fleet, and then we hit like stops every other day on the way back.
So when you were in Africa, was that on the west side of Africa, or was it through the Suez?
We went through. We did go through the Suez. We're in Djibouti, Africa.
What was training evolution you guys were doing now? Were you working with the partner force or just like kind of?
We were, but we were awesome. We were there for like 3 weeks, and we were just doing convoys and ranges and stuff. I mean, a lot of training. Most of the stuff we were doing as support unit, we weren't like working with the partner force. We were just supporting the grunts around doing whatever they do.
Okay. At this time, this is 2018, 17, 18, right? So this is the backside of the ISO push. So when you guys were through the Suez and you were in CENTCOM AR, what were you guys doing? Did you stop in any countries over there? Were you guys supporting any missions, contingencies, or anything like that?
There was some on the boat that were supporting missions when we were in Jordan. We stayed a while in Jordan comparatively to the other boats. Yeah, I mean, there was people on the boat supporting. We were not directly. We were supporting them indirectly, but there was some stuff going on that was hush hush that I don't even know about, but you could just tell stuff was going on.
So okay, so you hit a lot of the Mediterranean, and stuff like that. Or did you work with any partners in the Mediterranean or anything like that, or any opportunities?
We really didn't work with any partner forces that I can remember.
Yeah.
We didn't luck out like that. Some of the other boats worked with the Israeli special forces and Israeli guys. I'm Jewish, and I wish I was over there, but no, we really didn't. I don't think we worked with the JAF. That's not really working with anyone. The Jordan Armed Forces.
Yeah. I'm not talking shit on the Jordanians, but
It ain't the best.
So you spent some time in Aqaba, Jordan, probably. What was kind of the day-to-day life out on the ship? Because people...
Day-to-day life on the ship. Well, we were not lucky like most other MUs. We had to wear a uniform 24/7, 365 of some sort. So there was no going to the gym in normal clothes. We had to go in our athletic attire, which was green shorts and green skivvy shirt. But our life was wake up, we PT'd every day. We just worked out and played video games. Got really good at Madden, but comparatively to a lot, I still suck. That's that's what we did every day. We worked out and played Madden and watched movies.
So during the time period, you guys didn't have any other main objectives. You guys weren't like doing maintenance or nothing crazy. Did you guys have ship's tax? Like
I had ship's tax for. We did some maintenance. There wasn't. We were over. The boat was overfilled, so we couldn't do a lot. I mean, they packed this bitch in, but we did a little maintenance here and there, but nothing to an extreme.
Yeah.
Nothing that's something that there's a need for maintenance. Because we didn't ever use our vehicles. We always used what was handed to us at the port. I think we took the vehicles off the trucks, off the ships like twice.
Yeah.
The whole entire deployment. Ship's tax. I was the ship store guy, so that was legit. I was there for a week. I got lucky.
So the ship's store guy as a tax is probably you get too much fucking power.
Yeah, you get a lot of power.
Too much power.
You get the tobacco, you get the cigarettes, you get the candy, you get the monsters before everyone else, and it's a lot of. It gets to your head. It gets to your head, man. I'll tell you that. So.
All right. So you close out your new experience in 2018. Head on back across the big pond, as they call it. And what happens when you get back to the United States?
Get back. Everyone disperses from the MU. So if they everyone in the unit. So we had a lot of people come from other units to fill some spots. I was originally with the unit, so I didn't go anywhere at first. And then I said I was not going on another one. I didn't re-enlist, and they booted my ass to TSB, which was Truck Support Battalion, or I think. Yeah, Transportation Support Battalion. At that time, it's something different now. For my last 8-9 months in the Marine Corps, and I was a corporal at this time. I got promoted like 2 or 3 days after we got back from the MU, and it was a different experience in that unit. I'll tell you that.
So I'm gonna kind of break down their general job. So they're not a deploying unit necessarily. I think they're technically deployable, but their real role is like general support to the base. So it's real mundane is the best way.
Real mundane. It's where it's the unit where everyone who wasn't good enough or was, kicked out of their unit or
the castaways.
It was the castaway unit. There's very few. There's either people getting out or people that are on med set boards or. It was not the unit you wanted to be in. There's a lot more. The personnel was the issue, not the place.
Yeah. So, like those non-deployable units, like I talked about on episode 3. Jody talked about it a little bit when he was came on the podcast. Episode 2, Benny was he deployed out of the reserves, but the roles that they fill generally suck. They're kind of like the shit end of the stick, if you will, for the role for the base, right? Yeah. For the MEF. And they end up taking and putting the guys who refuse to
do anything,
the troublemakers, i.e. the broke dicks, the people that are kind of misfits, and the people that refuse to re-enlist. So at this point, even though Jared had limited time in the Marine Corps,
he still put the effort in.
Yeah, so you had a little fruit stack going on, you know what I mean? So, he was proving his point as a capable. At this point, you were corporal, right?
Yeah, I was corporal.
So, you want to talk about kind of that non-commissioned officer role in that unit?
So, in that unit, there's the real NCO, the real non-commissioned officer, which is a corporal and a sergeant. Then there's the guy that made it through and hit the marks and got promoted, and is just there to get there.
What's that saying? It's shit.
Here so I don't get fined.
No, that's my saying.
That's a saying that I learned from Jordan.
That is my saying. Marshall Lynch. So it is. You are the grade, not the rank. Basically, that's the saying. Yeah.
So I'm big into hey, something can happen and will happen, so why don't we train for it? That's the way I was brought up in the Marine Corps. So when I got there, I was like, that's actually trained, that's like actually make this fun. Like, I'm not just going to sit here my last 8 months and not make a difference. Because I wanted to see, like, I love leadership. I love teaching. I love being involved in people's lives to make them better and uplift them. Or sometimes, I make them not like their life. But in the military, you learn through discipline. You learn through pain, which equals discipline. They teach you that in boot camp. Like, if you mess up, you do a lot of push-ups, you're not going to mess up doing that again. It's just, it's how the math works out. So I'm not going to name names, but I lead from the front. If someone's going to do something, I'm going to go out there and do it too. And we were running a PFT, and I did not have to run another PFT. I was done. I finished my last PFT before I got out, and I had this corporal, same rank as me, had the same title, couldn't pass PFT. And I failed the PFT before, so I get it. But I was in better shape. I failed the PFT because I was injured before we went on a meal.
Physical fitness test for everybody.
Physical fitness test. And I suffered from that. It took me a lot longer to get promoted.
What was your injury?
I got cramps when we were on the PFT right before we deployed. Not like injured, but like it was a lot. Like, we didn't have a lot of time. We had like 2 weeks to run a PFT.
So this is pretty typical of deployment cycle.
Yeah.
You get jacked
yeah.
from lifting weights, but on the MEU, because you're cramped on a boat, you're limited on your cardiovascular. You got machines, but you're on a boat.
Yeah.
So the boats are in swells, so you're running on machines. You might have a couple of leg things, stuff like that. But generally, in the Marine Corps, we have the hardest PFT standard.
Yeah.
So, you have to run a 3 mile within 27:59 or whatever the case is. And you're not running during a workup, especially if you did humanitarian cycle and you were in WTI, which is like a million degrees.
There's a little bit more behind that, but as Jordan can attest, I have a little bit loud of a mouth, and I don't know how to shut it sometimes, and I may have mouthed off to my lieutenant that was in charge of the platoon, and didn't like me very much right before the deployment, because there's a lot of other people that didn't even take the PFT or the physical fitness test that magically ended up with perfect scores before the deployment. But that's just how the world works. You got to play the game. So we get on the ship, and I ended up retaking it in Spain, Italy, Spain, Rota, wherever it was, and getting a really good score. I think I got like a 295.
Okay. So physical fitness was probably a struggle in your second unit for sure.
Yeah.
For everybody. So as an NCO, that's kind of one of your things is to lead, mentor, and to give guidance and a discipline, which has it's a whole different beast. As a small unit leader, as they call you, you're basically a shop supervisor, to civilianize the terminology, and but you're basically, I hate to say it like this, you in his type of environment that he was in. You're a parent is the best way. You got to babysit people. You got to coddle them in order, because
you got to
I'm going to say this how it is now that I'm out and I can speak freely. There's a lot of Mothers America is the best term to use, and there's
especially in that unit.
Yeah, and you're going to get. Well, it happens more often than not, and I'm not saying that hazing is not real or anything like that, but
there's a place
you can't discipline the same way. And I'm not saying because everyone says this.
You can't discipline. The discipline was different when because Jordan was my superior when I got to the fleet. I mean, he definitely had hazed me a little bit, and that's fine. I'm a better man for it today because he did it correctly. And there's the reason why it's so frowned upon is because it's been done incorrectly and unsupervised and not smart. But some people just can't, they can't it's constructive criticism at the end of the day. They're teaching pain, they're teaching, discipline. And that's what the Marine Corps is all about. I mean, one of the mottos is pain is weakness leaving the body.
Yeah. And it's accountability.
And it's accountability. It teaches you to, like, if you stub your toe, it's going to teach you, hey, I probably shouldn't stub my toe, so why am I going to do that again?
Yeah. So the whole accountability piece in this is what's probably the most difficult because people put accountability on other people, but they don't hold themselves accountable. And that's probably the biggest fault. So in Jared's position, when you kind of get the third platoon, third unit, you get one leadership above you sucks generally because they don't want to deal with all the bullshit. So you, as the small unit leader, got to absorb all that kind of negative aspects of the unit and try to lead and mentor these not so form-fitting Marines.
I mean, I had some of them were good, some of them were bad. But I mean, my platoon specifically was the gunny was getting kicked out, the staff sergeant was getting kicked out. I mean, it was the rejects. I mean, I was in the reject platoon. Everyone was either getting forced out or they were been in the platoon since they hit the fleet, so they never left. But
zero experience
like this. And this one kid, and I like to say I'm not the best at anything I do. I want to be and I strive to be, but I am not the best. But if you disrespect something that I work super hard for to get, I'm going to make you pay for it if you disrespect it. And I'm in that position to disrespect it. So there's one kid, I'm not going to name names because, I don't know what he's doing. But this kid was just it angered me. Like, how could you be the same rank as me, have the same title, same job responsibilities, and be so bad and think you're the best? And we started running a physical fitness test, and me and the sergeant, we were good buddies, and we're like, hey, we got to make sure this kid finishes. So we strapped on our flaks, we ran boots and utes, so boots and utility pants and green skivvy shirt and a flak with, all the sappy plates in it. And we ran the PFT with him and pretty much yelled at him for the whole 3 miles, all 27 minutes, 30 seconds of it, till he passed the test. Because we weren't going to have someone same rank as us, same peer as us, same peer group, not be the same standard that we had.
So that right there is probably one of the biggest issues in the Marine Corps. It's not necessarily that physical aspect. It's that leaders, your peers, are afraid they don't have a lot of courage, and they won't go out of their way to ensure that their peers are being held accountable, and they're afraid because of that the influence that I'll be frowned upon if I say something to somebody who's acting out of character or unprofessional, and it's a fucking problem in the Marine Corps, and it's a problem in all branches. But I mean, it's probably the biggest influence for bad leadership, especially at the tactical level. Is not having the courage, moral fiber to say, hey, you're fucking up, dude. Go ahead and fix yourself before I have to fix you as your peer, and you don't want that shit. So,
and they got to that point, and I don't like I think you should be fixed if you're at the same peer level, you should be fixed in private. In public at the lower levels, it teaches humility. And that's what happened, man. He never got the point, and I treated him like Lance Corporal. I checked his room on field days for the last 6 months I was there. I mean, he was a subordinate to me. Everyone knew it. He knew it. I made sure that if you're gonna have I tried to get him demoted. I tried to put get him demoted because he was that bad. Didn't work out, but that was what I did. And I just held a higher standard for those kids, for those guys. I still talk to a lot of them today. I taught them a lot of, there's more to life and more to everything besides the Marine Corps, but the Marine Corps standards, the values, if you use them in life, in real life, they'll help you out so much.
Yeah. So I was talking to, before I got out, and I heard something and it really resonated. And I think if you're going to be a successful professional in the Marine Corps, gunslinger, logistician, or whatever your case is, it's the ability to have that esprit de corps kind of mentality, and what's the more courage, more fiber for your peer group. But it's also that leading up. It's ensuring that you lead your seniors so that way they make the correct decision because you at the tactical level inform those decisions. And then that comes into that courage and moral fiber kind of deal. And it sounds like you're probably hitting the head on the nail every single time and doing your best. And I try to strive for those type of things when I was into. So definitely it's a thing that we kind of talked about before where it is a part of you. You are a Marine. This is your unit. is you got to hone this no matter how shitty it is.
Yeah.
You want it to be better than, when you got there. You want to be better when you left it. You want to improve it. You got to improve the Marines. You want the impact to be past the Marine Corps. You want them to be better citizens when they get out. You want to be more successful.
Yeah.
And I just had a conversation, and it's kind of true. It's like you put all your effort, but you can't always put all your efforts into the bad egg. That egg might not hatch. It might just be a fucking skunk egg and stink at the end of the day. But you got to try your best to nurture it.
Yeah.
And you never know. It might polish up and come out and be actually a little beautiful goose and run.
And that happens. I mean, we've seen it. We know multiple people that are that way. As on our personal side, but
yeah. Okay, so you're at TSB. Yeah, you had already decided when you were at CLB that you weren't going to reenlist.
Yeah.
So what was the main few reasons? I know that obviously there was the command philosophy stuff and some mentorship leadership stuff that kind of drove you towards. But was it kind of a short stint kind of deal for you? Did you have anticipation to do it?
Actually, I was looking at staying in. I wanted to be a cool guy. I wanted to be like EOD or Marshalock, but it wasn't in the cards for me. I love those guys. They're cool. Got to hang out with a lot of them over the time I was in. But the way of life of the military was just not for me long term. Just not being able to be with your family at a moment's notice, not being able to have the stability of going home, knowing if you're going to go home every night. And that's not something I wanted to raise a family long term in. So ultimately I made a decision to go to school. So I started school right when I got back from deployment. I actually started on my last 30 days on deployment. I signed up for classes and got set up. And I was super adamant. I was like, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get a degree. And I'm going to do something with my life. And I'm going to go forward.
If you don't mind me asking, so this is one thing, because this is something I want to talk about in the podcast. Mm-hmm. How did you prep yourself for transition? Because a lot of people you talk to, they don't have the finances in line. They don't have a job, occupation set up. They're thinking a lot of people banking on that college, BH, to hopefully lead their way. Was you in that kind of boat as well?
I was semi in that boat. I, thankfully had a little nest egg saved up. And I moved back to Georgia. I knew where I wanted to go to school. I originally wanted to go to UGA, but transferring credits, you had to have 30 credits, and I only had 29, so they wouldn't accept me. And my grades from high school were not quite there. They were almost there, but if you're a Georgia resident, if you know anything about getting to UGA, it's extremely hard as a Georgia resident. Coming from I grew up going to a private school, so I ended up going to Kennesaw State, transferring in there, and originally for accounting as an accounting major, which is great. It was a great time while I was still doing it. I still am doing it. But that was my goal. I wanted to become an accountant, get my CPA, go work for the government as an analyst for the CIA or whatever, and continue getting that military grade paycheck that we all love and hate at the same time.
Yeah, get all those good tax benefits and healthcare benefits and your life insurance and all those little niches and opportunities to move whenever there's new positions that open up. All right, so want to be a cool guy, decided, fuck it, I can't do that. It's not for me. I eventually want to become a family man. And then, you're not in a deployable opportunity, advantageous deployable opportunities to go overseas and kind of get in the shit that you want to get into and go to the countries you want to go to. Decide, fuck it, I'm out. Go to college, apply. Not enough accreditation, maybe a lack of study on your first stint in college, and too much time off too, right?
Yeah.
And then kind of semi-ready financially to transition, but not quite. And then were you working while you went to? Because you're still going to college for accounting, but you're doing some other stuff too, right?
Yeah. So I got a pretty loaded schedule. So I got out January. Technically, my EAS was January 24th of 2020. So I've been out 3.5 years now. But I got out. I took terminal, and I got out in terminal leave, which is you're taking your saved leave days up and getting out a little bit early.
Final vacation.
Your final vacation before the paychecks stop. And I got out. I think it was December 19th of 2019, and I had already got an apartment in Kennesaw right next to the school. I was trying to be on my own. I was trying to start by myself without any help from anyone. So I moved home with my parents for 2 weeks, lived in their basement, um, and it was great. You know, they helped me get all my stuff together. They helped me figure out how to budget like a real adult. They've always been super supportive of me. So they helped me move, and I moved in, got in with a great group of guys that I'm still really good friends with today. So that helped me propel through my first little bit of college. I got really into weightlifting and fitness. Obviously not now. I'm kind of fat. I hurt my back. So I started working with a meal prep company, helped the buddy start it, and it grew like crazy, and shared in the exploits of that. And then my dad got out of retirement, looking at that, and
You mind if I
Yeah.
get in here for just a second? So before you get into the access fencing and how you and well, you can talk about it, but how was the VA process? And then I want you to break down kind of your investment opportunity into your friend. And then the one thing I want to mention is, so Jared, obviously, if you've been listening, he has extremely strong family ties. He's Jewish by his family religion, and he's family oriented. And so there's one thing that a lot of people don't have is strong communal support and strong family networking, or network ties and relationships. Because well, I mean, I'm sure I could probably pull up a statistical analysis right now, but a lot of Marines leave their area because it's shit, and their family relationships shit, and there's no job opportunities, and it's low poverty income, just the worst type of situation. So Jarrett was somewhere in between. He was just
I wasn't ready to be back when I first left. I wasn't ready to be there, but I made my way back, and it's for the right reasons, and it was the right time.
So was it difficult, kind of the transition personally?
Personally, so going into my transition back in December, January, through that first 6 months, I mean, it was really difficult for me. I mean, I was really struggling to make some friends. Granted, my next door neighbor in my apartment, he's my best friend now. One of the best men at his wedding. Actually, both my neighbors, they're both getting married, and best man at their wedding. But it was extremely hard for me, and without those people, I would probably not be in the position I am. But I literally, my days were, I had to make it so routine. I would get up, I'd go to the gym at like 5 o'clock. And mind you, when I got back from my last appointment, I probably gained about 60 pounds. I mean, I was a big old boy. Went from 180 getting back from 2018 to January 2020 at 240, 250. A little bit heavier than I am now. And I lived at the gym. I was leading a super clean, routine life. And that helped me propel me to where I am right now. I went to school. I had mandated study times that I sat down every day and studied. I went and, hung out with friends every night. But I routinely did the things that I needed to do to get me ahead of my peers and do what people say to do instead of saying, "Oh, I can do better." I took some people's advice, and I ate that humble pie, and it propelled me.
So, talking a little bit about this is something I mentioned before when I talked about the homeless vet crisis. So, Jarrett, even with all of the capability with his family and the good relationships, he still had some. I'm gonna say some. Well, it's a mental anguish, and it's a lack of camaraderie and the connection. Because I've mentioned this before, you don't really have you can't really relate to people who don't get it.
Yeah.
They haven't experienced it. They don't understand the relationships. They just don't understand how the people that you serve with are your family, and those values that are installed in you are just like it's insane. I mean, right now, even in Georgia, Jarrett and I are hanging out with my other buddy. He's hanging out in the other room, waiting us to finish the interview. And I mean, I talk to him every day. I mean, just about. I mean, you need those relationships to have healthy mental function. I mean, it just makes you. I mean, the camaraderie just alone, but I mean, it's always nice to have somebody who's like-minded to you. So it's good that you found it. Okay, so let's talk about access fishing, dude. And how did you get started, and where did it come from, and how did you what the heck, man?
I remember specifically, my dad called me on a Friday night. He's like, "Let's do something together. Get into business together." I was like, oh, "This is a fucking another shitty idea." Well, it turned out to be a really great idea. We were looking at a couple companies. We're recording a couple companies. I was ready to go, get some money out or borrow some money against my dad because he was already retired from selling his business, his pharmacy business earlier. And we were looking at a couple companies, and we looked at Accent Fence. The old owner had been around for 20 years. I was like, "Dad, there's upside here. There's upside here." And he said, "I see that too." I mean, they were in the Stone Age when we bought it, still doing inventory on pencil and paper on a little graph piece of paper and throwing it in the desk and not remembering it. And I saw the opportunity to grow. I did a lot of research. We spent about 2 weeks, digging down every day, looking at every little nook and cranny of the business. And boy, did we get in over our heads, but boy, is it a fun ride.
So, talking about the company structure a little bit. So, what type of company, if you want to break it down, how are you guys held?
We're an S Corp.
You're an S Corp. And then S Corp, which is 25, right? 25 total employees, or how's it break out, right? Because you guys independently contract. And,
so we're broken down a little bit weirder than a lot of home improvement, landscape kind of companies, construction companies. We're a subcontractor, and this is how that's how we bought the company. We bought the name, we bought the accounts receivable, we bought the contracts they already had, so we knew we were going to do great our first year. Not great, but we knew what we were able to do. So we bought it in. We took official ownership in January 4th of 2021. My dad is the sole proprietor owner. I came in at a later date. I had to earn my stripes. He wanted me to graduate school before I, took ownership. But things changed along the way. So I continued grinding in school. I actually changed it to being a double major in accounting and construction management. The doors just were open that way. So I'll finish in the fall with both of those. So having 2 degrees, at 26 is pretty cool. But it was a long journey. It's been a rough road, a lot of hours, a lot of time, but the journey has been crazy and super humble.
So Jared and I are pretty good friends, brothers, really.
Yeah.
When I call him, Saturday, Sunday, as a small business, an S Corp small business owner, every single time I'm talking to him, he's working. He's like, "Hey man, either he's working or he's traveling because his significant other lives out of the state, and he's traveling to go see his significant other." There's literally no break time, and I think that's probably what that disciplined mindset helps you be successful as an entrepreneur. And then also that family time relationship definitely is exceptional. But my point being is literally we're recording at the office right now. I couldn't bring the full hell down.
Yeah.
I mentioned that in my video, but we're recording at the office. I was here on a Friday. It wasn't gaffing off. It was 4 or 5 p.m. when I rolled in here. I said, "Hey, let's get into it." You know what I mean? And still work. You know what I mean? But that's the type of discipline and the mindset that you need, and you hold yourself accountable every single day. You treat yourself, even though you're in a managerial position, treat yourself as a regular employee when it comes to the company, because that's ultimately going to make you the most successful. And I think that that humility comes as a factor that that people don't owe you shit.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably biggest underlying factor of people failing when they open small businesses, because you get small business loans to the VA,
Yeah,
whoever,
it's stupid.
you know what I mean? It's easy to do, but the conceptual idea is that if you don't take the time to research and you think that you're owed whatever the case is, you're going to fail miserably. And I think that that's something you're keying in on here.
So I actually, little backstory on that. I was in the business for about a year and a half, and me and my dad started getting into it. I wanted to modernize. I'm a big on, hey, let's stop, let's change the narrative, let's be in charge and let everyone else. I'll break it down. So I'll go back. Our business is set up. I have a few. I have about 10 key employees, team members. They're part of my team. I trust them. They trust me every day. And then I have everyone else is a subcontractor. I have salesmen that are subcontractors. They're 1099, and all my install crews. I have about 9 of them. They're all 1099s. So in all total, if I was to put everyone in a picture, we have about 100 people that work for us. But on paper, who I pay on payroll, I have about 15 at any given time. So about 6 months ago, me and my dad were getting into it every day. I mean, like, it was just not a healthy environment for us to be in. So I took a step back. I just looked. I was doing the books in the background up until about April, when he gave me a call. I was like, I need you to blow it up. So I'm a big, like, hey, do it right, trust the person, get it done. We don't need to have a lot of miscommunication. So I came back like middle of April, completely transformed the company. I had to cut a lot of people out, fire a lot of people, which was sad, but needed to be done to grow.
So right now, what's the output for the future for your company? What avenues are you taking with the company, and where do you see yourself at with your future endeavors?
So
before we push on towards the end of this video, obviously I'm going to talk about your business a little bit more. I'm going to put your information out there, of course.
yeah, always looking.
Jared's looking for veterans. He specifically told me the other day he's bad with time management because he's got so much going on. But he was like, "Hey man, if you can find veterans, say it." And I said, "I'm going to shout it out, but you need to shoot me your your job proposal." He said, "I'm in between right now," and I was like, "All right, cool, man." I was like, "But we're gonna at the end of this, I'm gonna put all the information. I'm gonna attach it inside of links, stuff like that. We'll talk about that towards the end. But I just wanted to put that out there as a disclaimer. Jared wants veterans. He's veteran oriented. He's a veteran owned company. So go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah, in the past month and a half, really, we've really decided that we want some accountable people that can, problem solve. That's a big problem. And we're getting there. But me and my dad wanted to not be in the nitty gritty every day. We're getting here at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. We're leaving at 6 or 7, and that's just not healthy. We want to spend time with our families. We want to spend time at home. We want to kick our feet up, just like everyone else does. So that made the ultimate decision to change our mindset and change the narrative. So lately, over the past couple of weeks, we've been empowering our team members to make decisions. We have a saying, "What would Jared do? What would Gary do?" My dad. And meet in the middle, and that's probably the right thing to do. Because we have me and my dad have different mindsets, but meet in the middle, we're gonna get the mission done no matter what. So,
as it is typical anywhere else in any job force, in any business, there's conflicts of interest, and that I talked about this before. Conflict of interest in relationships, in careers, and they draw people out of the military because you can't connect and relate with people. And one, it stains people,
mm-hmm.
Their mentalities and stuff like that. And two, if they can't trust the people they're around, so that's what Jared was kind of leading towards, that the relationship with him and his partner, all right, whether it be family or not family, he was saying, hey, it was too contentious. I had to take a step back from the company, went ahead and let them run it how they seen fit, because couldn't do it. It was healthy for me, and that's probably the right step. Not always, but it's a good step.
It's a right step in the forward direction. But my dad gave me a call in the beginning of April. He said, "I need you back, and I need you to blow it up, and modernize it." We inherited a lot of the people and the team members that came with the company. We haven't had a lot of revolving people. We've had a lot of revolving, hourly people, but the main people have stuck with us and they're very loyal. Um, but it was time for us to make a little bit of a change to management staff.
So, we're not going to talk about the exact future of the company and stuff like that. But one thing I want to get towards the company is what I was talking about just a couple minutes ago. So, if you want to give kind of your mission statement and why you want veterans to come to your company, and what he was hinting towards is he wants leaders. He wants people that hold themselves accountable. And I'll give him the opportunity to kind of break down and sell you guys on why you should come to the company. I'm going to clip this, so by all means, Jared, it's all you.
Pretty much, guys, I just want someone who can come in and take charge. If you can, develop a leadership role, obviously you got to earn your way. Like I did, I was digging post holes 2 years ago. I mean, I dug post holes every day for 6 months just to learn how to build a fence. It's not rocket science, but it's not the easiest thing. Then I already knew the business side, being in school and being in the business school and the construction management school. I know a lot of those codes and all that business stuff. So I transitioned to purchasing and managing and scheduling. Now towards even more managerial role. I'm the vice president now. I bought in about 3 months ago, just because I had some cash and was like, I want ownership. I want to be part of it. So that kind of led to my future with it. But I want people that will want to work. I want people that want the future, because I'm big on giving back. If you do good for me, I'll put as much food on the table as you want for you.
Yeah. So what I was talking about before with the homeless vet and the recruiting processes for jobs and opportunities, you got the American Legion, you have all these veteran societies and stuff like that. But the way that veterans find opportunities is veterans doing right here what we're doing right now. Veterans helping veterans. Mm-hmm. And Jared's telling you right now, if you have work happening, you're a local around here, and you can make it to him. I'm going to put his information out there for him so he can help recruit. But he's looking for veterans because he knows that, one, they're going to be like mindset for that they're going to be dedicated to the job, and they're going to be hard workers. Not everybody's like that, and that's the one thing that sucks.
And that's hard, but I get it. People want to show up. They want to show up at whatever time and work that 8 to 5. But I'm not wired that way.
Yeah.
And if that's okay, if you are wired that way and you want to show up and work an hourly job, and that's fine. I'll still give you the opportunity, but I want you to want something out of it. That's my goal. I want you to be, if you join into my concepts, which I promise are very fruitful, you can get ahead in life. You can set yourself up for you to have all the toys and you want, and put as much steak on the table as you want.
Yeah. So it's that kind of mentality. It's buy in and invest in that company, mm-hmm. especially in a company that wants you to be succeed. There.
I want you to succeed.
Yeah,
I don't succeed unless you succeed.
Exactly, and that's kind of what I was getting towards. Is this company can help you grow. You want it to grow. You want to have a better work staff, stuff like that. Not that they're bad now or anything.
No, they're
like
not bad at all. They're great.
Yeah, it's great, man. We're gonna close out here in a minute.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of sell that a little bit. Yeah, a couple of reasons why is because I personally know Jared, and he's an excellent leader. I mean, he made an S corp something. He took and revamped a company at a relatively young age. He's a successful entrepreneur, and Access Fencing, even though they're a growing S corp with upwards of 100 members on staff at any given time. There's room to develop, and there's great potential with the management and leadership that are here and the employee staff. So that's why I wanted to put that out there. So because I know that the job market's not fantastic here, and then a lot of people don't have laboring skills, logistics and operation skills, sales skills, and this is just kind of one size fits all. The company does a little bit of everything, even though it seems like it's one minute thing with fencing. I mean, there's always backstaffing, logistics, and operations.
Stuff.
So, before we close out, I wanted to shout Jared out too. Accent Fencing is my first official sponsor. I'll be advertising like I am right now. Episode 4, Accent Fencing with Jared Meyer. So thanks, Jared. Appreciate you your company, veteran owned and oriented company. So appreciate you, man, and love you very much.
Thanks, bro.
You're my boy. And 2, I want to thank all the community supporters at the Fire and Forget podcast, and I'll give Jared the opportunity to give his final thoughts for the podcast, and then I'm going to close out, and then we'll go out. We got some a game or maybe some top golf to get into tonight. So,
listen, guys, it's that easy. I want you to sit in my chair at the end of the day. That's how we're all going to succeed. So just work hard, play hard, and get after it.
Sweet, short and simple. So, as we close out here with the Fire and Forget podcast, episode 4 with Jared and Accent Fencing, Jared kind of broke down a lot of the successful business and entrepreneur kind of mindset, right? He didn't really have a defined goal, but he knew that eventually he wanted to be independent. He had a mindset that he was want to stay federal. It changes. You never really know where you're going to be at the end of the day. So you should take the opportunity to one, listen and grow from other people, which is rely on your community members, your families, your friends, stuff like that for information, and have trust and confidence to find those people that you can have that in, especially when you're transitioning, because it's going to be hard. 2, while you're active duty, try to set yourself up for the future. You have all these resources that are out there when you're active duty, from financial management to leadership. I mean, that not everybody's perfect, and Jared talked about this, and we talked about this every single episode, that there's bad leadership out there. I mean, honestly. So I want this to be known now that, Jared's an emulation of what is possible when you apply a mindset and utilize all the resources that are available, and you trust people. He talks about not micromanaging, but being firm and fair. Those type of mentality and characteristics in a leader are going to make you successful at the end of the day. And one of the reasons why ultimately him and I are extremely good friends. I drink out of his his mug. He's holding it up on the other side of the camera. It's flipped on me right now. And reason why we're going to be friends for the life, brothers for life, is because he's a trustworthy individual who has good courage, moral fibers, and leadership and just character in general. And that's what you ultimately want to be as a veteran. You might not have everything defined. I mean, you talked about episode 3 with Mandy. I mean, she had 15 jobs, man.
Yeah.
Taxidermist. You never know. You literally never know where you're going to be at one day. You can follow passions. You can follow whatever the case is. So I wanted to close out on a positive note. It's like anyone can do it. I surround myself with the people that are like-minded to me, and you should too. And a lot of people that I'm around, and not everybody. I know a lot of people struggling that are out there, but you should try your best. And if you're not there, try to surround yourself or find those confidants. So that's probably my end of story message for this one. So you got anything else, Jared?
Listen, man, we're doing great things here. It's part of giving back. We're here for you guys. You can reach out if you're in a dark place or in a great place. We want to set you guys up for success. That's the end of the day. Veterans hold a special place in my heart at being one, obviously. But if you can set yourself up for success to, raise that family, put food on the table, make sure that you have your ability to decompress and deal with the stuff you're going through, you're in a great place. But if you're not, we can help you get there. And that's what this is all about.
Oh, yeah. We close out here. I want to thank all the Fire and Forget podcast followers and supporters. The only way, not the only way. I've told you guys from the beginning. I don't really care about money. I don't care about monetization or anything like that, clicks, views, or anything like that. I'm here for the veteran. I'm here for education. I have a whole gigantic mission row that I explained before. But I appreciate you guys always tuning in, liking and sharing, commenting, subscribing, and telling people. And the only way that this continues to grow is veterans and community supporters informing other people and sharing, so that way we can continue to find veterans to interview for the podcast. So if you guys continue to do that, the more veterans I'm going to have the opportunity to hopefully leverage and network and give them free advertising and travel and expose them to podcasts and have the opportunity to share their story like Jared. I mean, because the only way that we're going to be able to influence and continue to help veterans is doing exactly this right here. Is veterans talking to each other and helping veterans out. So thanks for tuning into the Fire and Forget podcast. This is episode 4 with Jared Meyer. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys soon.